Gargi, Maitreyi, Lopamudra, and Ghosha, the Rishikas of ancient India. Men in the Vedic times, 1500 to 1200 BCE, however, were highly spiritual as well as wise. Hence, we find that the Vedas speak very highly of women. Out of the vast number of Vedic rishis, we find 27 Rishikas or female rishis who were given the status of Brahmagyanis. Out of the many that are mentioned, four stand out. These are Gargi, Maitreyi, Lopamudra, and Ghosha. Brahmavadini Gargi. The kings of Mithila, Sita's country, were famed for the wisdom and dispassion. Janaka, the king of Mithila, had many great scholars in his kingdom. Out of these, 9 of them were known as Navaratnas or the 9 gems. One out of these 9 was a great female scholar known as Gargi, daughter of Rishi Vachaktu. She was a Brahmavadini or knower of the Brahman. The king wanted to select one amongst all his scholars who was the greatest. So he organized a Brahma Yajna. The prize was 1000 cows with 10 grams of gold hanging from their horns. The most noted scholar amongst them was the sage Yajnavalkya, who was known for his wisdom and sanctity. 8 scholars challenged him to a debate out of which Gargi was the only woman. A debate with him is recorded in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Gargi had mastered the Vedas at a very young age and her knowledge was unrivaled by most of the men of that time. Her philosophical views are given in the Chandogya Upanishad, and she had even made her great contribution to the construction of the Rig Veda. During the debate that had been organized by King Janaka, Gargi questioned Yajnavalkya on the physical environment, but after he satisfied her on all these matters, she asked him about the nature of Brahman. It is a long treatise, but the gist as given by Yajnavalkya is given below. This reality, O Gargi, is unseen, but it is the seer, is unheard, but it is the hearer, is unthinkable, but it is the thinker, is unknown, but it is the knower. There is no seer but he, there is no hearer but he, there is no thinker but he, and there is no knower but he. In Akshara, the eternal, verily, O Gargi, the universe is woven, warped and wove. Gargi saluted him and argued with him. She is supposed to have realized the truth of this, and that is why she was given the name Brahmavadini, knower of Brahman. Maitreyi. Maitreyi was the daughter of Mitra Rishi and the niece of Gargi. She was also born in Mithila. She was taught all the Shastras by her father at an early age and reached a high state of spirituality. She wanted to marry the great sage Yajnavalkya, for she felt that he would be able to help her in her search for the ultimate truth. But he was already married to a devout woman called Katyayani, by whom he had 3 sons. Seeing the high spiritual qualifications of Maitreyi and her desire to marry her husband to further her spiritual pursuits, Katyayani agreed. It is said that Maitreyi enhanced Yajnavalkya's spiritual stature. She composed 10 of the 1000 hymns in the Rig Veda. After going through Grihastha householder's life, it was common in those days to take sannyas. Yajnavalkya decided to leave the world and go to the forest to do tapas. He called both his wives and told them that he would partition his wealth equally between them. The dialogue between Maitreyi and Yajnavalkya is famous and is found in the 2nd and 4th chapters of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. She asked him to tell her the reason for which he was prepared to give up all worldly possessions. Obviously, he had found something greater than material wealth, so she begged him to give her that precious jewel rather than wealth and physical well-being. He was filled with admiration for her and gave her knowledge of the Supreme Brahman and advised her to seek that. Since that alone was the source of all bliss, Maitreyi attained the higher state after this and paved the way for all women to attain moksha. The basic difference between Gargi and Maitreyi is that Gargi was an intellectual who was interested in Jnana Marga, whereas Maitreyi's questions were on both Jnana and Bhakti. Lopamudra. Lopamudra is also known as Kaushitaki and Varaprada. She is supposed to have been created by the sage Agastya out of the most beautiful parts of certain animals like deer, etc. The king of Vidarbha adopted her and later gave her back in marriage to Agastya, who was an austere rishi and refused to have any relationship with her. She is supposed to have written certain hymns in the Rig Veda begging for her husband's love. This made Agastya realize his duty for her, and they eventually had a son called Udashiv, who became a poet. She was a Rishika in her own right and contributed many hymns to the Rig Veda. This Veda gives the long discourses she had with her husband Agastya that make us realize the sharpness of her intellect. She visualized the Panchadasi mantra of the Shakta tradition. She is supposed to have spread the fame of the Lalita Sahasranam, 1000 names of the Divine Mother, along with Agastya, who had learned the hymn from Hayagriva, who is an avatar of Lord Vishnu. Ghosha, another Rishika that emerges from the Vedas as being incomparable to Ghosha, granddaughter of Drigatamas and daughter of Kakshivat, both of who wrote the hymns on the Ashwini Kumars, who are the divine physicians. She has written two hymns in the 10th book, Illustrating the Ashwinis. Actually, she suffered from an incurable disease, probably leprosy, and was unmarried. In one of her hymns, she implores the divine physicians, Ashwini Kumars, to cure her and allow her to experience wedded life. They are supposed to have blessed her, and she was cured of the dreaded disease. We see the epics through the eyes of the men, and that is why the greatness and the strength of the women in the epics do not strike us. But none of them were weak women, nor were they dominated by their husbands. They all had very strong minds of their own, and they were not thwarted by their menfolk. This is the important thing. The men of that period allowed their women to express their feelings and follow their own opinions. If you like this video, do subscribe the channel.